ترزا ویلیرز، نماینده ارشد پارلمان انگلستان، وزیر محیط زیست 2020. باید یک تحقیق مستقل بین المللی در مورد قتل عام 1988 1367 انجام شود تا کسانی که مسئول آن جنایت هستند به دست عدالت سپرده شوند.
International Women's Day is a time to celebrate the progress made in this country and in many parts of the world on delivering a more equal society. Ever since 1792, when Mary Wollstonecraft published A Vindication of the Rights of Woman, we have seen women in Britain and across Western countries make inroads into spheres from which they had previously been excluded for centuries. Our foremothers led the way in demanding the vote and going on to smash the glass ceiling in politics, in business, in professional life, in culture, in the armed services, and in so many other important fields. But we do have to recognise on International Women's Day that women in many places are still subject to discrimination, to disadvantage, and to gender-based violence and oppression. That's something we should reflect on every year when International Women's Day comes around. And that's why I always try to take part in events like this one hosted by the National Council for Resistance in Iran to highlight the suffering of women in Iran. For many years, I've spoken out strongly against human rights abuses there, both in Parliament and outside. Again and again, I've condemned the regime of the mullahs for depriving people of their basic freedoms. And of course, women in that country suffer a double disadvantage. Like all citizens, they face imprisonment or even potential execution for political opposition to the government. For example, it's an appalling tragedy that so many women lost their lives in the mass killing of political prisoners which took place in 1988. Those brave women refused to submit to the regime and they paid a terrible price. Their sacrifice should never be forgotten. I believe that there should be an independent international investigation into the 1988 massacre to attempt to bring to justice those responsible for that atrocity. But of course, in addition to those horrors, women are treated as second-class citizens by the Iranian legal system. Their right to travel can be made subject to the consent of a husband or father. They're subject to inequality and unfairness in relation to divorce and child custody disputes. And of course, they're denied the right to make their own decisions on the clothes which they choose to wear. But despite all of this, I know that women are playing a leading role in protests and dissent in Iran. I know that they were at the forefront of the uprisings of November 2019 and January 2020. I pay tribute to their bravery. They all took huge risks to be part of the widespread protests which took place. And I know that there are many women working to support that 10-point plan for a democratic, secular, non-nuclear Iran. Gender equality and protection for ethnic and religious minorities is at the heart of that plan for a better future for Iran. And I sincerely hope that one day we'll see the end to theocratic dictatorship and we'll see a transition away from the corrupt and misogynist regime now in power in Tehran. When that happens, I hope we can all gather together once again for International Women's Day to celebrate a new free Iran, which treats all its citizens with respect, men and women, and allows all of them an equal chance to succeed in life and influence and take part in a free and democratic process. Thank you.